16 for me is one that I kind of. This is where it gets a little dicey. It gets a little. DJ Moore is what I got, and it's strictly off of ability. What worries me is quarterback play. They had it up and down last year. He started out really hot, and then he cooled off because their quarterback play was just terrible. I think Baker Mayfield hopefully ultimately is going to win the job. Maybe I think he will, and then he's better than Sam Darnold. He's shown to me anyway. He is not by much, but man, I think he's going to be a little bit more steady.
He's two
And
picks better in the 2018 draft. Better. Let's just put it that way.
right, right. But the ability though of DJ Moore with the ball in his hands, he's kind of like Scary Terry to me. Like maybe even a little bit better with the ball in his hands. This dude, he's legit. He looks like a running back almost. He's got like a running back build. He's a really good wide receiver, really underrated wide receiver, and just off of his ability, I had to put him up here because he could have some big. And if Baker does figure it out, then I think he could have another solid year.
Now for me, so DJ Moore, I have 17. I'll go back to 16 here in a second, just so we can get over the DJ Moore talk here for a second. In our league, we have 3 receivers. So if he like for me, if he was my third receiver, I'd be extremely happy. If he was my wide receiver 2, like he's serviceable, So if he's in that wide receiver 2 spot, if you're waiting deep and he's your top receiver, you might have some issues at receiver. So you might want to go out and make a trade for a receiver. But yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against the guy. With a healthy McCaffrey, his target share goes down a lot. But again, quarterback Baker, if Baker does win that job, he might look to go down the field a little bit more. So that could be good for him. Robbie Anderson's still there to take the top off, but he's going to get 3 or 4 targets a game, if that. So, DJ Moore he does like to get targets, and sometimes those targets you get 9 for 160 and 2 touchdowns. Sometimes you get 8 for 60 and nothing. So you're going to have those games where he has his targets, but got to be careful with managing expectations with him. 16, this is the guy that I jumped up is Gabriel Davis. I talked about him a little bit earlier. I think he's actually going to be a touchdown machine. I know that they have, they even have the tight end there, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but they have
Dawson Knox.
Dawson Knox. They have him. They like him in the red zone. Josh Allen, man. I talked about Justin Herbert and how I think he's going to be MVP. Well, Josh Allen was my MVP last year. And if I was to place a bet on who was going to be MVP, it's going to be Josh Allen. But I'm going with Justin Herbert for other reasons. But as far as Gabriel Davis, man, like his coming out party was in the playoffs last year. I mean, and Diggsy sees a lot of double coverage, and they rotate to his side. He's stepping into the number 2 receiver, and he is a talented and big option. Big target. So I think he's gonna see a lot of touchdowns. I'm not gonna go off overboard and say he might lead the league in touchdowns or nothing like that. But I could definitely see him in mid double digits. I mean, you could see him have a lot of those kind of touchdowns. He's a poor man's Mike Evans to me. So he's that kind of build. He just kind of finds a way to get open down in the red zone, and that's kind of who he is to me. Mike Evans is obviously a lot more talented, and
they got the same number 13.
Yeah, so that's kind of who he reminds me of a little bit. So I jumped him up, man, and you were right about him last year in the playoffs. And I kind of rewatched those games, and I saw kind of the way he plays. I know there was a couple stumble and fall in that Chiefs game for him to be wide open like that in the end zone, but it's going to happen again, man. They play in Buffalo. He's a big guy. He catches pretty much everything that comes to him.
The target. He's the number 2 guy now, and like you said, if they roll coverage over to Diggs, then that's why Diggs last year didn't get the targets that he's used to getting, is because when they would roll coverage, he would trust in Davis, he would trust in Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, but 2 of those guys aren't there anymore. So I think that, and not to mention, I think I do agree with you. I think Gabriel Davis is ascending in a way. So they're not going to be able to roll coverage, because if this dude's scorching you for 4 touchdowns, you got to at some point put another guy on him or do something, so he's going to earn that respect. And I don't think Diggsy is going to get that same treatment. And I think that they're both going to see I have him on my list. I don't have him that high. Let's say that. 17 for me is another one of my guys, Deontay Johnson. He is going into another contract year, if I'm not mistaken, and he is a guy that runs some good routes, creates a lot of separations. The only problem with him, he's dropped a ton of balls over the last few years, but man, he can do it. And the quarterback play hasn't been good. Is it going to be good this year? I don't think so. Kenny Pickett or Mr. Trubisky. That being said, Mr. Trubisky, at least he knew how to find Allen Robinson because Allen Robinson has some good years with Mr. Trubisky. So Deontay Johnson, to me, I know Chase Claypool, whatever the hell he's smoking on, thinking he's a top receiver. Deontay is the best guy on that team. Like as far as route running and who I would trust, it'd be Deontay. That dude he's legit. He's better in the screen game. He's just not the bigger body that Claypool is, but more complete receiver is Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I have him coming up too. I'm going to just say my 17 real quick just to move on. You kind of mentioned about DJ Moore. We kind of talked about him. So 17 was DJ Moore. I had Deontay at number 18, and I actually flopped him for somebody. And you're probably going to think I'm crazy here, but I moved Deontay to number 19 for number 18, Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, to me, man, is every single year he drops in every single fantasy draft every single year because we always talk about how piss poor his quarterback's going to be since Deshaun Watson. And, even when they had Deshaun, they had other guys. And every year we're like, oh, Brandon Cooks is going to be a 7th round, 8th round receiver. And every fucking year this guy catches 110, 120 balls. And he's always on the bottom ticker, because he's the only playmaker on that offense. Houston's going to be bad. They're going to be a terrible team. This might be the only Houston you want to draft. But every year, if you just look at numbers, especially in PPR, every single year, this guy just comes down and he falls out every year. So I have Brandon Cooks at 18. It might be a little high because how bad that team is, but I am having a feedback here. But Brandon Cooks is going to be number 18 for me.
Yeah, I have him in my list also, but I have him dropped quite a bit. For me, number 18 is my guy, Chris Godwin. I think that like I mentioned, he's not going to be forced back because Russell Gage, Mike Evans, and we got Lenny, we got a running game, we got a defense. So I don't feel like we're going to be maybe not the same high-scoring offense as we were last year, but as a team, we'll still be able to win games, and we're not going to be able to force Godwin in. So I think he might have a slow start, but the reason I still have him at 18 is because down the stretch, he's going to be a guy that you wish you drafted because he is a guy that Tom Brady loves. I know he trusts Mike, but honestly, Godwin last year was leading in yards, catches, not touchdowns. I think Mike had him beating that, but that's his guy too, man. Those are his guys. I know Gronk was getting some love too, but without him there, he's going to go to the two guys he trusts, especially down the stretch. I think Godwin's a guy that you really want to roster. If you can get him, I think he's going to be a steal because everyone's hyping up this injury stuff. He might play week 1. And Godwin at 70% is still pretty good, But by midseason and by the end of the season, assuming he's healthy and rolling, then Chris Godwin is a borderline top 10 guy, because of the volume that he's going to get and the talent, the screen. He's the screen guy for us. Like he's the guy that gets all the yak and stuff. So for me, he's a potential steal at this point in the draft.
Yeah. So we've already talked about my number 19, which is Deontay Johnson. I'm going to kind of skip over a little bit. The only thing I'm going to say about him is you talked about Claypool. You talked about, Pat Freiermuth is an ascending tight end in that offense. But you talked about, who's going to be at quarterback. I mean, is it going to be Pickett? I mean, who knows? That's kind of a 50-50 coin flip at this point in my book. Tomlin likes to surprise people at times. So who knows who that's going to be. Yeah, so real quick, just so that's my number 19. Did you already mention your 19? Or was Godwin?
Yeah. Godwin's 18.
So go ahead and go 19 because I have Godwin at 20, and I want to add a little bit on Godwin.
Okay. 19 for me is I might have pushed this guy up on the boards that I've seen anyway. I definitely pushed him up. And even though he did me dirty last year, it's not his fault. Allen Robinson, I got him at number 19. I think that he's another one of the wide receiver twos that are in here, and he's on an offense that might be the most pass heavy offense in the league. And I think he wasn't hurt last year, really. No major injury, nothing like that. Like that dude, he could play. And the way Odell came on at the end of the year, I think is how you're going to see Allen Robinson pick up right at the beginning of the year. I think he's going to have double-digit touchdowns. He'll probably have 1,000 yards, and I think Allen Robinson is going to have a nice bounce-back year. He's never had a quarterback anywhere close to Matthew Stafford, and now Stafford, and that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Justin Jefferson have a better year than Cooper Kupp this year because Allen Robinson is going to be having a damn good year. People forget how good he is. You know, he had a really good year with Mitch Trubisky. This is Matthew Stafford here. Like, it's a difference in that. So I feel like, to me, definitely Allen Robinson is going to be elevated. He's number 19.
Yeah, he's one of my notables, man. I kind of dropped him off my list only because of last year. You're right about everything. I have him as a notable because he's one of those guys that could have like comeback player of the year type aspirations here, stuff like that. But number 20, I already mentioned it, is going to be Chris Godwin. I wanted to add a little bit to this. Like there's reports saying he might be ready week 1. I'm a little, like you said, like you said earlier, he might be eased back in, especially because they're going to want to make a deep playoff run. And he was one of the big reasons of why they didn't win that game against the Rams last year. If they would have had him, if their offensive line would have been healthy, I think the Bucs actually could have pulled that game out. So Chris Godwin to me is my favorite Buck. He has probably the most respect. Tom Brady. Obviously, we all respect Tom Brady, but Godwin's been a Buck for a long time.
Real Buck, yeah, real Buck.
And I've liked him since when he played with Jameis. So I hope he comes back quickly. If he came back week 1, he's a top 10 guy for me, honestly. But I'm going to have a little bit more realistic expectations. I'm going to push him back into maybe a 4-week absence. Maybe he misses the first month.
Which is cool. Take your time, big dog. Yeah. There's no rush.
He's a guy that I actually, I have a slash here because there's another guy that's missing some beginning of the season. And that's DeAndre Hopkins. And, he's missing up to 6 games. That's also not for sure. He might be able to appeal that and have that slash to where he only misses a month. So I'm putting DeAndre Hopkins at 20 also because it's DeAndre Hopkins. He is right now slated to miss 6 games. So I understand that. I know that. The only reason I'm saying it is because both these guys are probably second, third, maybe third round talent. As far as fantasy drafts, and they're both going to miss some time, in my opinion. And but they're both talented as hell, so I'd have both those guys at 20, to be honest with you.
Right. I mean, we obviously agree kind of on Godwin, but for me, just real quick, because I have DeAndre Hopkins in my next tier honorable mention because he's gonna miss 6 games.
Yeah.
And by then you might be out of the playoff spot. Like depending on where unless you can get Hopkins late. But like I have all these guys that I would much rather feel comfortable drafting. And Godwin, honestly, I think at most he misses probably the first 2 weeks at most. So that's an extra month's worth of games that you're getting. You can survive 2 weeks.
There's a good chance that he appeals it to where that suspension gets split either in half or at least 2 games down. But
and then that changes it.
Man. I mean, we're not talking about like some no game. I mean, he could still have. I'm not gonna say he's gonna have 100 catches in 14 games or 13 games, but he damn well could. I mean, that's how important he is to that offense, dude. And they lost Chase Edmonds, who was their third down kind of receiving back. Let's put it this way. He has to slim that suspension down for him to go anywhere in the top 6 or 7 rounds. But if you're getting this guy late, if you're getting D-Hop late, I mean, let's be real. You're getting a steal if he's sitting on your bench for the first month.
Right, and we'll come back to that one later because if anything changes on that front, on the suspension front, then maybe it'll change. But as of now, 6 games. So yeah, no, I have a lot of these other guys still ahead of him that I feel much more comfortable taking. They also have Hollywood Brown on that team. So and I'll get to him in a little bit. I actually have him up on my list over DeAndre Hopkins because he's going to be there and he has chemistry with Kyler Murray. They have Rondell Moore. They got AJ Green. They got Zach Ertz. I'm not as high on DeAndre Hopkins this year. Even when he was in last year, he had some duds. So for me, Hopkins is not even in my top 30 right now. We're on 20, right? So for me, my number 20 is Mike Williams. Like, how do you not take Mike Williams over DeAndre Hopkins? You know, like Mike Williams after the year that he just had, and in the offense that he's in with the quarterback that he has, who's a pass first kind of guy. Mike Williams for me is a guy I feel much more comfortable with. So I take Mike Williams at 20.
Yeah, no, I mean, I trust me, dude. I get it. Like at 6 games, I'm not. He's not my 20th receiver off the board. Like I'm not picking him over any of these guys I have coming up. But my point is I do expect it to maybe because I even read today like there's still hope that he's going to trim that down to. I mean, it's possible he could trim it down to 2 games. I mean, there's a lot of question marks with that test that he popped. So there's a possibility that it gets trimmed down. Now, again, if it doesn't, then I'm not drafting him in my top 30. I mean, I split him with Godwin just so I could talk about both of them at the same time about how I expect them to miss time, but they deserve to be talked about. Let's just put it that way. That's the only reason I put him there, but he needs to be mentioned because it's still DeAndre Hopkins. Going on to number 21, you talked about him earlier. We talked about him. I'm going to skip right over it to let you go to 21, but Jerry Jeudy, he might deserve a little bit more respect than this. It's just really hard for me to see, guys like maybe a DJ Moore or Michael Pittman, like guys who, should go out and probably ball out. Jerry Jeudy is another one of those guys. He should come out and ball out this year. Reason why I dropped him a little bit is because I am high on Devontae, Devontae Williams. Yeah, and then and they have Cortland Sutton, and we got to see who Russ likes. So it very well could be him. I expect it to be him. That's the only reason why I dropped him to 21. But go ahead with your 21.
My 21, I'm gonna kick it right back to you because we kind of already went over it. My 21 is Scary Terry McLaurin. For me, I have him dropped apparently, but like I said, Mike Williams, Allen Robinson, these guys are in more high-profile offenses. The other guys, like I got a Deontay ahead of him because he's going to get a higher target share. They just drafted a rookie. They got a nice tight end, Logan Thomas also. So and they like to run the ball. Ron Rivera's always run the ball, so I feel like he drops just a little bit. For me, Terry McLaurin is 21.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely like him a little bit more than you do. I have him 9 spots ahead of you. But so 22 is where we get into some fresh blood here. So 22, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. And so they added Jameson Williams, who may not be ready for week 1. They added DJ Chark, who also had a major injury last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown was another one of those guys. He was a rookie last year that had a very, very, very strong rookie year, very quietly. He started to make some splashes towards the end of the year, and people were like, "Oh, this guy is actually pretty good." It was too late by 14. If you didn't already roster him, I mean, he was coming off waivers. Like week 6 or 7.
Yeah,
and that's when he started to really, really become, the lead guy there. And I expect it to happen again. They are going to be a little bit more explosive on offense. At least you expect them to be with those additions. And Jameson Williams is going to be he's him to me. Like he was a guy I wish Minnesota would have not traded out. I mean, he's going to be a great receiver in this league, but he's not. He may not even play this year at all. They're talking about maybe him, really getting that injury under control and not playing at all. DJ Chark He's a big body guy. He's a Kenny Galladay type guy. But I still think Amon-Ra is going to be a really, really good player for them. And he's going to see a lot of targets. I mean, other than Hawkinson, I mean, they really don't have anybody to throw to.
Josh Reynolds, his boy from the Rams, Jared Goff's boy from the Rams over there.
I still think
So, yeah,
Amon-Ra
I'm with you. I actually have Amon-Ra coming up here soon at 25. 22 for me is going to be a little bit of a shocker for probably maybe for you is Michael Thomas from the New Orleans Saints. I have him. The reason being Jameis Winston. You already know that's my guy. He ain't afraid to throw a contested ball, we'll say. And this dude, all he's got to do is box you out, and he's like Mike Evans almost. He's not as explosive as Mike Evans. He's not as, I don't think, as good as in the red zone. But man, he runs a good slant. He's a big dude. So I think that I think that's going to be Jameis's guy. And when Jameis locks in on a guy, it can be some good things sometimes for fantasy wise. He's gonna on those 12 targets, he's gonna hit 7, 8 of them. The other 2 might be an interception. Who knows? Honestly, I think the Saints are a playoff team. Don't get me started on that, but yeah, no, I got Michael Thomas at number 22, just because I think he's gonna be, if he's healthy, he's gonna get some targets.
Yeah, man, I have him at 30. With a big question mark next to his name. So he's one of the biggest question marks over the last 2 or 3 years. So yes, I have him at 30 because of the name, because of that 1 year in 2018 where he was the slant king and got all those passes from Drew Brees. You got to respect the name. You got to put him in there. There's a reason I put a question mark, and down a little bit I put Chris Olave. So Chris Olave is an explosive guy. And
is it Olave? I think it's Olave, but yeah.
Well, if you Google, I had a Google pronunciation name.
Yeah, did you?
And they pronounce it Olave on Google. So for right now, until somebody more reputable than Google corrects me, it's Olave in my book. But so Michael Thomas, man, he holds the catch record. I think he holds the overall catch record.
He's the security blanket. If Alvin Kamara is not there, who's the security blanket? All of a sudden, it's going to be Thomas.
They did add
Jarvis Landry.
Too. So I mean, that could be a security blanket also. But you're right about Kamara. I really hope he don't. If you ask me, I don't ever want to see him play again, but I definitely don't want to see him play this year. So you're right about that, and he gets a lot of just easy catches. But Jameis, going back to Jameis, man, I'm not going to sit here and talk shit on him. Going into this year, he will be the starting quarterback for the Saints, and he is going to try to find a guy. He's a gunslinger. Thomas could very well get those targets. Chris Olave, man, is a guy that I think that is going to be. I have that question mark for a reason, because I think he probably deserves to be on this list. But the Michael Thomas is the bigger name at this point, so that's why he's on there.
PPR, I think Olave is going to be the Olave, whatever the hell it is. I think he's going to be the big play guy. Jarvis and Thomas are going to be the chain movers, mainly Thomas.
Yeah. Going into 23, this is your boy from last year, Rashad Bateman. So this guy, he comes out of Minnesota, and I like this kid. I liked him when he was drafted. I don't like the offense that he's in, but he'll be the number 2 guy behind. Obviously they're going to run. Lamar's still going to run, but he is their number 1 receiver now. So he's a big body guy, and he showed flashes last year. So I actually jumped him up because I think that if there's going to be a year for him to ascend, it's going to be now. If he doesn't do it now, he'll never do it. Because I root for him, I jumped him up to 23.
I have him on my list. He made the cut. I got him down a little bit more. I have 23 for me as a guy I feel a little bit more comfortable taking is Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, for me, he's another guy. If Deshaun only gets 6 games, then all of a sudden this dude could be a league winner, especially at this point in the draft. If he knows how to run routes. Dak hooked, that chemistry was instant. So for me, if Deshaun gets there, Deshaun plays, I think that chemistry can become instant as well. And it's just going to be the first 6 weeks. Might because they're going to be a run first team, maybe run second team with Jacoby Brissett at center. But even then, when he goes to throw, who are you going to throw to? Omari's the guy. Defense is going to roll his way, obviously, but he's a professional route runner, man. He's got good hands. He's got good size. Amari Cooper he's a wide receiver one, dude. And I think for me, that he is a guy that I feel comfortable taking. So I would go Amari Cooper here at 23.
Yeah, again, I have him at
I would
29.
honestly, sorry, I would honestly, I'm switching him with Michael Thomas. I would put him at 22 and Thomas at 23. Just talking like that. Amari Cooper, somebody I trust more. So I'm doing that for sure.
Yeah, with Amari, the reason why I dropped him is purely because of the quarterback scandal. Like, who's going to throw him the ball? And if it's 6 games, then yeah, he's a league winner for you, and you got a wide receiver one. He also has, like, this dude deals with injuries, and it's not one injury. He'll deal with something different every year. He'll deal with a whole bunch of things every year. So I dropped him a little bit only based on until we get Deshaun news. If we get the Deshaun news that he is only missing a couple of games, then yeah, he jumps up probably even in the top 20 for me. But as of right now, I have him deeper because of the quarterback controversy, and we don't know. So same thing with Michael Thomas. I don't know what kind of Michael Thomas. It's been 2 years since we've really seen him play. So same thing for
you. Got to
him.
roll the dice at this stage. Sometimes you got to roll the dice. So this is the stage where I feel kind of comfortable taking some swings on some of these guys that could potentially be home runs down the stretch.
Yeah, going into 24, you just talked about home run, man. I think that this could be a home run here. That's Darnell Mooney, man, from the Bears. I'm going to give them a little bit of a shout out right now. He is actually a very talented receiver, and they just lost Allen Robinson. There's nothing really in that offense that's really going to scare you from taking targets away from him. So he is their best receiver. Can he get the ball? Are they going to be able to throw enough for him to get enough targets? I don't know. And there are some pretty good corners in that division. So I'm not saying they're elite or nothing like that. I think the only elite corner is the guy from Green Bay, but
Jair,
yeah. So Patrick Peterson's not really elite anymore. So I don't really see that much challenge for him to get targets against in 6 of those games. But on top of that, man, if they can get him the ball, I was watching highlights last year to where he was open all the time. And could Justin Fields get him the ball? Like,
he was under duress though. Justin Fields was running for his life back there too. That offensive line, that roster in Chicago.
I don't care how. It's just, can they get him the ball?
They have like 3 guys that could start for another team. I think Mooney might be one of them because he's got talent. To your point, Roquan Smith is another one, but they got rid of a lot of guys, man. They're a team that's rebuilding. Let's just say. So for me, I actually don't have. He didn't make my top 30. Darnell Mooney. He's in my list right after that. And I could be wrong because last year he balled out. He had a good year last year, and that chemistry could get even better. So I'm not hating on your pick. I personally don't have him. My number 24 is DK Metcalf. And this is because I think Geno Smith might end up beating out the kid Drew Lock. And Geno Smith, if you look at the spot starts where Geno started, then I think that he actually hooked up DK pretty good. That was his guy, and he force fed him a little bit. He feels comfortable throwing to a big guy, obviously, instead of fitting it to Lockett. You got to be pinpoint accurate like Russell Wilson to be dropping those dimes to Tyler Lockett. It's a lot easier. You feel a lot more comfortable throwing to that big guy, DK, if you're one of these guys that maybe aren't as accurate like Geno. So I feel like another thing is they're going to be losing. I feel like that team's going to be losing a lot. So they're going to be throwing a lot. So I think he's going to get some garbage points. And he's DK, man. So I feel like I had to get, like, I honestly had to, like, I forgot him off the list altogether. And I went back. I was like, where the hell did I put him? And I found a spot at 24 where I put him. So
I have him at 25. And he's one of the worst route runners that you'll see in the league. His football IQ isn't the greatest, but his pure athletic ability is. You talked about AJ Brown being freakish. This dude is freakish, So, am I going to draft him? No. I'm going to skip right over him. I'm going to go with another running back or a tight end or quarterback at this point. Am I going to draft DK? No. I'm going to let somebody
if he's sitting there late, then I'll take a flyer on him.
Like he's my fifth receiver off the board. Let's roll the dice, baby. But yeah, man, I'm not touching that offense really at all this year. Rashad Penny maybe in like a running back 3 spot.
No.
In like running back 3 spot, man. Like I'm not touching that offense at all. That's all I gotta say, man. And that's 25 for me.
So who's your 24?
Darnell Mooney.
Oh, okay, cool. So 25 for me is a guy that you already talked about is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like you said, dude, he's coming on strong at the end of the year last year, and he's gonna be their guy. I think he might get more. I know Hawkinson was their first round pick. I think Amon-Ra might have been a second round pick. But man, that dude, he went to USC, fight on Trojans. This dude, he's a baller, bro. And I think that he's here to stay. I think PPR. I have him over some nice names here, so I think that I'm giving him some respect. He's in the top 25 after what he did last year, So Amon-Ra St. Brown, number 25.
Yeah, man. I like him too. I have him at 22, so I see that. 26. This is where I get into. This is going to be Hopkins' replacement for the first 6 weeks for sure. Marquise Brown could get off to a really good start. Do I think that he's going to have a massive year? No, I don't. Talk about Mr. Dropsies with Deontay Johnson, man. This dude is Mr. Dropsies. So, he's got to catch the ball. He's got to hold on to the ball. And they have, you talk about AJ Green. They have Zach Ertz. They have other guys that are going to make plays. The only reason why he's at 26 for me is because that, you talked about the connection with Kyler. Kyler is going to want to throw the ball deep, and that's the guy that's going to run under it. He's going to kind of assume the Christian Kirk role, and he might be a little bit better than Christian Kirk. So, Christian Kirk's another guy that, maybe should even be in the honorable mention. He's not for me, but
he's not in mine either.
Yeah,
he got paid though.
It is what it is, but Marquise Brown 26, and I'm going to stick to it.
Hey, we agree on this one too. This is like what, our third or fourth one?
We got a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, or this one, and I think that Kyler throws a little bit more of especially a deep ball. I think he'll throw a better deep ball than Lamar. Sometimes Lamar, I know a couple of them hit him in the hands and he dropped it. They're on him, but I don't know. Maybe the chemistry will be there. Maybe it won't. Maybe they don't. Either way, I think Hollywood Brown I think he's gonna have a solid year, dude, and I trust him. He's the guy I would take for sure over Hopkins if I'm doing a draft.
Yeah, well, yeah, he has to because he'll play all the games. I mean, he's gonna score more overall points probably, or it might be close. Who knows?
I think he's going to have a better year because last year he was having a solid year, and that was even with the drops. So, even if he still has a few drops, I think he's going to have because he's got a better throwing quarterback, not by much. I don't think Kyler or Lamar are that great.
I was going to ask you, man, who do you like more? I mean, they're very similar quarterbacks. Who do you trust more, Kyler or Lamar?
I think throwing. I think Kyler. I think throwing the ball. I think Kyler. He's been in shootouts, and he's had to throw the ball in those shootouts. Lamar takes off with his legs a lot more. So for me, that's why I think Hollywood's going to have an even better year. So I think Hollywood, he's kind of a sleeper, even at 26. I think he's going to have a good year.
Okay. Yeah, we have that obviously agreed upon. Who's your number 27, man?
I got Mr. Route Running Machine, Hunter Renfrow from the Las Vegas Raiders.
I have him, but he's in my honorable mention. He shouldn't be, but he is.
No, he definitely should not be. He is a guy that is steady. I know Jeff, who finished I think second in our league last year, had him, and he probably averaged 15 points a game, something like that. And when if he scores, and that's without scoring shit. If he scores, because he's gonna get 6 catches, 60 yards, so he's gonna get you 12 points probably right there. He scores a touchdown, all of a sudden you're at 18, and he pops one. Dude, he's a gamer too, and I think a lot of attention is gonna go. He was getting kind of top attention there for a little bit. They didn't have Darren Waller. They damn sure didn't have Devontae Adams because he was, Waller was hurt. Adams was in Green Bay, but now with those guys there too, like he's gonna get third guys or a nickel guy at best, and there's not a lot of nickel guys that can stick with this dude. And Derek Carr has a connection with him. So I feel like Floor, he's a safe guy. He's a guy I feel comfortable with. He's a guy I want on my roster.
Yeah, my number 27, man. Again, the only reason I'm saying this guy is because I don't see anybody else there that's going to be worth rostering. Kind of like Brandon Cooks. It's Elijah Moore, dude, for me, from the Jets. They have Corey Davis in that offense. But who do you roster other than Elijah Moore? Elijah Moore, again, another rookie last year that showed a lot of promise. The only thing he's got to worry about, dude, is keeping his mom away from Zach Wilson. That's the only thing this dude's got to worry about this year. Otherwise, man, go out and have a ball out. He was a pretty good rookie last year, dude, to be honest with you. And is he a guy that I'm going to jump up and go crazy? No. If I need a running back or a tight end or a quarterback, I'm probably going to go that route first. But when you get this deep, man, you're trying to hit home runs. You're trying to find, that guy that could be a league winner for you that just surprises people. Elijah Moore could be that guy. And, Zach Wilson, is he an NFL quarterback? This is going to be the year. I mean, if he
Right, and I feel like
again.
I feel like he spreads it out too. Like he had Barrios coming on strong. Elijah Moore, they just drafted a wide receiver in the first round too. I think Elijah Moore was a second round guy. So like who's gonna be the guy over there? And honestly, I'm gonna wait and find out on that one. I don't even have him in my mentions.
I think he's the best receiver over there because they have Corey Davis too. But Elijah Moore is actually a pretty talented kid. So
they just drafted a first rounder though too. Didn't they draft that kid from Bama? First round, yeah.
What? Who?
Dude, look it up. I'm telling you, they drafted.
I don't know. I didn't really.
They drafted a first round wide receiver. They got those other guys for me, and the quarterback situation is the Jets. I'm staying away from that. The Flyers I took were freaking Michael Thomas, and shit like that. Like, and Amari Cooper, I guess. I don't think
28 through 30. Yeah,
those are guys that have actually done it though before and could potentially do it again. So for me, anyways.
Yeah, if you're gonna go into Flyers, man, because like for 28 through 30, if those are your Flyers, because you talked about Mike Williams earlier. Did you?
Oh, these are a better Flyer than Elijah Mitchell is what I'm saying. I'd rather roster one of these guys.
I don't know, man. Did you really watch that kid last year though? Because he had games where he had like 3 touchdowns in the game, and he had like 12 catches in that game. So I mean, if he can
younger too.
He's not going to happen. That's not going to happen every game, obviously. But dude, this guy's a guy that can go out and get you those 20, 30 points because the Jets are going to be losing a lot. So they're just going to take shots, man. And I don't know. I think that he's definitely worth a roster spot in the later rounds, the 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds. I'm not going to sit here and say jump up and pick him in the top 5 rounds or nothing, but
right.
At 27,
I'll take Hunter Renfrow over him all day. Number 28 for me is another guy I'll take over him all day, Brandon Cooks. You mentioned him earlier, but I got Brandon Cooks way down here. So he's another guy. So these are guys that I would definitely rather. You got me second guessing Michael Thomas and shit now, but
we pretty much swap Brandon Cooks. So that's where I have Mike Williams. They have some other guys coming on late. Like I think they have like Jalen Guyton. He's coming on pretty deep as a deep ball threat. So Mike Williams to me, obviously, he's the biggest receiver over there, but he's also like the clumsiest, man. Like this guy falls down all the time. Like he's just he disappoints me every single year, but like he had a really, really solid first half of last year, then he kind of faded.
Right.
The one thing I'll
Yeah,
say
he
about
had a
Mike Williams is he loves to play with the Chiefs. So like when you play DFS, man, when they play the Chiefs, for whatever reason, this dude balls out against the Chiefs. So there's that. But if you take those Chiefs games away last year, I mean, he was a very, very, very middle of the pack average guy. So that's just why I have him so deep. I have Amari Cooper and Michael Thomas rounding out because of all the question marks with those guys. So
right.
that's just where I have those. And honorable mentions, I mean, we have great receivers on honorable mentions too. So
Right. Well, to round out my top 30 is Russell Gage and Rashad Bateman, 29 and 30. Russell Gage, I think because Godwin is going to get eased back, I think he's going to might be the second guy that Tom's going to be looking to. Last year, it was Evans, Godwin, Gronk, and AB. There's four guys. Right now, we're going to, even fully healthy, you got Gage, Evans, and Godwin. There's really only three. And with Godwin getting worked in slowly, I think that Russell Gage has a chance to start pretty quick. So he's a guy that you might want to roster and draft towards the end, because he's a guy that is going to, like I said, he's going to start quick. I think his first few weeks he's going to do good, especially PPR. He's going to have some catches. And he showed that he's not just, I compared him to Edelman, but he's actually a guy that can run the fade a little bit. He can go by some guys. I saw Matt Ryan hit him deep a few times last year. He had a surprisingly underrated season last year with Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Russell Gage for me at number 29, and then you already alluded to Rashad Bateman. I got him at 30. And dude, that was without Gabriel Davis. I got Gabriel Davis in here too. So like ours definitely, we got the same names in different orders. We prioritize, like I said, and these are the order that I would draft these guys, because there's a blend of it all. Do you prioritize just volume? How many looks are they going to get, or the upside and the talent also? Because they got to be talented. So it's like a blend of it all for me. And these are my rankings, 1 through 30. What's your next tier? Some of these sleepers that you.
So I have a lot of notables, man. I have about 10 of them written down here. I want to go over a couple of them real quick. We're pushing 2 hours for this podcast, so we're going to have a part one, part two for the most part on this one.
Right.
I do want to talk about Alan Lazard. He is going Aaron Rodgers, dude. I mean, he always finds a guy to elevate, and that's going to be Alan Lazard. He very well could finish in the top 20 in fantasy points this year if that's his guy. They went out and got Christian
Watson. Christian Watson.
Yeah, Christian Watson. Yeah, that could be his guy. They went out and picked up Sammy Watkins. I mean, who knows who Aaron's going to find? They have Bobby Tunyon. They have those two backs. But Alan Lazard, man, to me, though, over the last couple of years, Aaron's talked about how much he likes this guy. He does things the right way in practice. So if I was a betting man, which I am, I would probably say Alan Lazard's going to be that guy. Another one that I have, man, we haven't talked about is Robert Woods. Robert Woods was a pretty big piece in LA. I know he's coming off the ACL. They did go out and draft Trey Burks from Arkansas, and Traylon Burks from Arkansas, and that could be a pretty quiet duo. Could see a lot of targets both ways. I talked about Chris Olave. Last guy I'm going to mention, we talked about Ayuk and his connection with Trey Lance. Last guy I'm going to talk about, and I only left him off my list because he's 33. He's my favorite player in football, Adam Thielen. This guy is a touchdown machine. I just think that Justin Jefferson is going to be so good this year that AT is going to only have scraps. And I hate Irv Smith's coming back. I want to put AT in my top 10. I mean, that's how much I love the guy. But he is a league winner. If you're putting him in your wide receiver 3 spot in a flex spot, dude, this guy could win you leagues. He can. He's done it every fucking year. Every year until he got hurt against the Rams last year. He did it every year. He does it 2 years ago. I think he had the most touchdowns in football. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins, you talk about chemistry. Kirk Cousins with Adam Thielen, like he just throws the ball to a spot and AT goes gets it. With that said, he's 33.
Touchdown dependent.
He's 33, and how much longer can he do it? He just restructured to where he's taking less money, and I think it's
You
time.
got to bank on him. You got to bank on him scoring a touchdown. He's in here though. He's in my honorable mention because he does score a lot of touchdowns. So he's in my honorable mention. Also, the other guys I have in here are Tyler Lockett. They're gonna be losing a lot, so
there too, yeah.
he can still get open with the best of them. I got Brandon Ayuk. I think that he's actually gonna have a pretty good year. And then I have Michael Gallup as a name that needs a little shout out. And then Cortland Sutton also is another name. So you can get some guys late also. Like I got 40 names written down here. We'll give you guys our top 30. It took a little while on this one. Like we said, going into it though, this is the deepest position in fantasy. And these are guys that are worth mentioning, dude. Like we just mentioned, Robert Woods, Michael Gallup, Brandon. These are guys that you're in a roster. So they deserve a shout out. So and they can end up winning you a league, man. You have a certain guy go down, like if anything happens to Jet, nothing will. But Adam Thielen all of a sudden is a guy that is like wide receiver 2 status. So I mean, you gotta roster some of these guys.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, I mean, we're in a 12-man, 3-receiver league, so 30 doesn't even cover all 36 starters in our league. So that's why we have honorable mentions. We still have names off this list. I don't have Gallup on my list. I don't even have Cortland Sutton on this list. I mean, I dropped him out of a whole bunch of stuff. Drake London's a name that we can get into. If they're gonna be able to find some targets for him. Juju and one of my biggest sleepers is Sky Moore out in KC. They're going to have, other than Kelsey, like who are they going to throw the ball to? So there are some names that we just didn't mention.
Mecole Hardman might be a guy.
There's a lot of sleepers that you could go ahead and plug into wide receiver 3 flex position. We have to roster 3 of them. So top 36 is going to be playable every week. So Adam Thielen's going to be a guy that you can play every week if you have to. Ayuk is a guy you can play every week. Alan Lazard's a guy you can play every week. So just because we left him off this list does not mean that we don't want to mention him.
I put one guy real quick, just Kadarius Toney from the Giants. That dude is shiftier than all hell. You know about it. I think pretty sure you started him during that one game.
The only one that fucking knew about him last year. I was talking about this guy last year, and then he just, I forgot to put a tampon in, so he didn't want to play. That's the only thing. He's pretty soft. He tweaks a toe, he's out.
Year 2, he might be.
He bruised his foot, he's out. So that's the only knock on him. But yeah, he's a guy that he's a flash in the pan. Against the Cowboys last year, won you that week, I'm sure, if you played him. DFS, he's lightning in a pan. So there's guys that you're going to roster deeper in the rounds that are going to be big names like the Robert Woodses, the Adam Thielens, the Devontae Smiths. These guys are going to be later in your drafts that you can draft, and in the right matchup, you're going to put them in. So guys, we crave your input. Let us know where we fucked up, where we messed up, where you would push another guys. I know I have some guys on here that, like Brandon Cooks, I jumped way up there. He jumped Michael Pittman way up there. So let us know which ones you're like, hey, would you really draft him there? Let us know some names that maybe we left off this list. BT, I think if you have any objection, we're going to split this into 2, only because it's so long.
No, sounds good, man. Sounds good. We'll definitely do that, and make sure you guys stay tuned. We got quarterbacks. We'll probably do
quarterbacks and tight ends coming up. So right. Go ahead and like and subscribe down below. Look for both parts. Make sure you guys watch both parts because 1 through 20 is going to be pretty much the same names. Then we get into the other ones. So if you're watching part 2, jump back up to part 1, guys. Look for quarterbacks and tight ends. I got to wrap it up. BT, anything left?
That's it, man. Stay tuned.
All right, guys. Look for some more content this week. And until next time, take care.
Subscribe.